And welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I'm your host, WIZE, and I'm actually excited. My guest was just talking off air, and it was becoming very interesting. So I'm excited to have her on the show now. Welcome to the wait. Before I do that, let me silence that. Sorry. Welcome to the show, Fran Fomai.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
Oh no, listen, it was like we started off backstage, but it was starting off very interesting. So, but you have for me, you have an amazing story because you are in a field dominated by men.
Yep.
And let's be honest, it's a field that not very many women are successful in, but you found your way to navigate through this, and you're doing some amazing things. I really don't know many women who do freight. Like, I don't. Let's be honest. There's not many women out there doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying, where are the women truckers? They're out there.
They are, but they're not getting the recognition that the men do.
I don't know if that's the point of doing that. I mean, because that was it's a job. It was a job. I think back in the days, men were the breadwinners.
Yeah,
we're seeing that role change.
But you see more women. You see more and more women truckers. I see some women who are out there. They have their trucks doing the business. What made you get into this lane?
When I think lane, I think rates, I think freight. So what made me get into it is that my sister, my sister and my son, we were talking about opening up a business because we wanted to start creating generational wealth. And from where I come from, we didn't have that. And we're just trying to find something that had the lowest barrier to entry. And so I guess my sister in the back burner, she was like doing a dispatching class. She was in driving school to become a trucker for her class A. And so we decided, okay, well, since she's already in that, let's go ahead and do that. And that's how I got into trucking, because I would have never done that, because prior to trucking, I had been in the printing and signage industry for almost 20 years.
That's a big shift. That's a big shift.
It's still a male-dominated industry.
Yeah, it is. But so can you? All right, so what's the story behind the inception of Dispatch Help and LML Logistics?
That was a company that me and my sister created.
Yeah.
So when we decided to go into trucking, she had already created a logo, which I thought it was cool, but I was just like, I want to create something else for us, something that I think is cool. And while I was creating the logo, I thought the name LML Logistics is cool, but like, who the hell's going to remember that? I was like, these people need some help. Like, let's do dispatch help. Like, don't that make sense? She's like, oh, yeah, that does make sense. So that's what we did. And then in addition to that, while I was creating that, I said that I think as women, like you said earlier, there's not a lot of us in the industry. I feel like we need to be represented. So I came up with the clothing line, Class A Chicks. And so I created an apparel line for that. And then Dispatch Help came out of that. And then that's where we kind of like funneled into what I do now. When I was doing, I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but when me and my sister started to Wait, I'm over here hosting the show. Well, you tell me, and I'll go in the direction you want me to
I'm
go.
ask this question. I want to know what's the story. What happened? What's going on?
Okay. So when me and my sister started, what do you call that? When we started to market the company, I thought what was cool was my dispatch help had like a little bow on it. I went to the 99-cent store and I saw these little bows, headbands. I said, sis, if we go out there and pass our flyers and we have these big ass bows on our head, they can't ignore us. So we
That's
went
really good.
so we went down to the Port of Long Beach at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Like there's this long ass line, and you know cars aren't supposed to go down to the port. I didn't know that. I'm just getting into the industry. I drive down to the terminal and I'm like, hey, here's our flyer. And then so people are asking us questions and I'm answering what I do know because mind you, I just started. So I thought that was so funny, so cool. And people thought it was such a cool little marketing gig that these two girls with their little Minnie Mouse bow ears. And that's how we started to do our marketing was that cold calling. And then I ended up, the neighbor, he had a trucking company. And then I had a conversation with him. I was like, oh, do you need a dispatcher? So he was like, oh, you guys can dispatch? And I'm like, yeah, we can dispatch. And he was like, really? He's like, what do you guys know about dispatch? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. I'll tell you this, I will work my ass off. And I am really good at hustling. I'm good at not taking no for an answer. So I think that would be an opportunity for you to give us to, help you. Come to find out, he needed some help with opening up a freight brokerage. So that's how I got into where I am now.
Okay, awesome. So you started the clothing line, and so how has the clothing line been doing?
It's not doing great. It's like I just thought, oh, it's cool. Let me go market it. It's doing great in the sense that like when I use it as a marketing ploy because when I went initially to what is that thing called? To She Trucking. It was an expo that was put on by Sheree Moore, and she's out in Tennessee. I sold a lot of my shirts out there. So it was really more of us to get brand recognition.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't for me to be like, oh, okay, yeah, people are going to buy this. Like, first of all, I'm a newbie. So you ain't got no credits behind your name. Nobody gonna want to support you. But I tell you, my shit was looking good.
Oh, and it is like you said, it's a branding tool. It's
Yeah.
more branding to get your recognition, your name and your brand out there. So yeah, so it's always good to go in. It's good to have your brand when you're going to conventions and stuff like that. I've learned when you go to conventions and we're wearing our shirts with the Real Wise logos and all, people who tend to like, oh, what's that? So when they see that you come with your marketing and base, that's what it is. That's what it is basically is marketing. And when
Yep.
people see that, they're like, oh, they're kind of organized.
No, totally. Like, so that was the funny thing is when I went to the show, I had all my like marketing collateral. I had my tablecloth that had our printed logo and everything on there. We had like the little stands that where you put the t-shirts in and folded. Like it was looking very, very professional, thanks to my background in signage and printing. So I knew how to get the stuff done. It was just really more of trying to figure out what my client market looked like, how to get our name out there. And those were the things that I had some challenges with, which the cool thing, I met somebody there who helped us get our name out.
It's awesome. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate the challenges and setbacks in the freight industry?
We're still going through some challenges this year. Last year we did really great, and right now we're looking at like, oof. Unless you are specialized, you're seeing like a lot of your clients like out there in the market looking for like price comparison markets. So like for people like us where they don't really know our name, we just have to go out into the streets and still do it the old school style because a lot of these companies are getting phone calls. And so I guess I'll share with you what kind of clients that freight brokers go after. So we go after people called freight forwarders, customs brokers, importers, and exporters. And because they already have the people that are bringing in the imports or the products, all they need are people to actually move it. And so that's where I come into play. And so they get so many phone calls that an in-person thing is like, oh, okay, this is refreshing. So that's the avenue I've been using. And I think that's what's keeping us afloat because we're still having that face-to-face interaction. Like technology is great and dope.
But like you said, it's more personal when you get to sit down, because like you said, they receive so many phone calls. When they
Yeah.
actually get to sit down and speak to someone face to face, it's more, it's, you can actually see how this person represents the company, and if they have the attitude and do they seem like this is a company, do they represent the company well, do this seem like a company that you would like to get into business with. So I think
Totally.
that it's so much more beneficial when you are the small fish and you get to still employ these old school methods that people still enjoy. People, I think sometimes people prefer to meet face to face to really get to know the people they're going to work with.
Oh, for sure. There's so many signs on the door that say no soliciting. I just pretend like I can't read.
So okay, so you turned down during the experience and all this, you turned down a partnership with a former media company, and then how did that? How did why? First of all,
Oh,
and
because I was transitioning into here.
oh,
Yeah. The
okay,
um the owner of the manufacturing company wanted me to, like you said, partner with them um, because I had brought so much business to the company, and I had one of the largest accounts there. I was really good at what I did, and I just felt like I needed to transition because I think everything that I learned from him, because he is a very poignant businessman, and we grew together. We got into fights together, and we grew together. And I mean fights, will like we literally be at each other's throats. I mean, you don't really hear this, right? Their employer fighting with his own employee, and I'm like, I think we were just both at a, and I don't recommend this for people. Don't do that. He was writing my checks, but being in Aries, I felt like there was some injustices that were occurring. So I had to have a conversation because I didn't feel like the way that I was being talked to and I write and I talk about this in the book was appropriate. So at that time, uh, anyways, fast forward, fights to no more fights, peaceful. And then the guy that I thought was my biggest adversary became my biggest advocate. And I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to work for him because that really taught me how to not just run a business, but how to be, and then also be empathetic towards like people, not because of how they're behaving towards you, but there's also something behind the story of why they do what they do.
Mhm. Yeah. So you mentioned the book. Congratulations on your book. So,
Thank you.
what is the name of the book, and what inspired you to write it, and what message do you hope readers take away from it?
So the book is called Can You Hear Me? um, what inspired me to write it was he was one of them. My daughter was another one, and then my an ex lover. He was a part of that book. This all came out of me having to grow. Like you were talking about earlier, how you were propelled into self development by your partner. That was the same thing that happened to me. I think I think one of the stories that I tell all the time is that my daughter, she was just like telling me she wasn't going to take out the trash, and she was bad mouthing me, like, talking back. And I think you already know for certain cultures and like family hierarchy, like that kind of behavior is going to get you ass whooped.
You're gonna get some teeth knocked. You're gonna get some teeth knocked out. That's gonna happen.
You're going to get dentures at an early age.
Yeah, you should- like, I remember one time I spoke back to my mom, and like she smacked the and listen, rightly so. I was being disrespectful. She just caught that back smack, and I behaved for the rest of the evening though. And she ain't had to worry about me saying a lick for the rest of the evening. But
Man,
we come from a different time. It's a different time.
we do. I even was having a conversation about somebody else, but about the whole dynamic of that. But I digress because I want to finish this point and I can revisit that. It's like when she did behave in that way, it was challenging me because at this time, like I said earlier, I was learning how to create boundaries. I was learning how to create in a healthy, communicate in a healthy way, which is not yelling so I can get things done, but really talking and having dialogue with these. When I say these, like these little beings or people that are going to be adults, and really learning how to have um, a two-way conversation. So that was one. And then the boyfriend was like, oh, well, maybe you need to go into therapy. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll do this because I seen the behavior of his family and how they communicate openly. And I thought, man, that's what I want for me. And then, with the boss story, I already told you that. All those stories brought me to the book, and I felt like those were lessons I think people might need to know that may not have learned how to communicate in a healthy way. Because, like,
Yeah,
I don't know about you, Will, because I didn't grow up in a house where they gave me tools on how to self regulate.
we. I mean,
Your eyes were like,
listen, I ain't come from somewhere where we talked about. We did not talk about feelings. We didn't talk about any of that. It was we, we didn't talk about going to seek therapy because we didn't want people talking about us that, oh man, he's crazy. He's going to see therapists or so. No, we didn't do those during that time. It was not something that mental health isn't what mental health is now.
yeah,
It's not. People looked at it differently back then.
yeah,
People were more ashamed of it. So, but now we're being able to come out and talk about going to see a therapist. I'll talk about seeing a therapist now because it's what saved my life.
mm,
Going after going through one tragedy after another, I was ready to quit.
mm,
And but something inside was like, no, this isn't your path. This isn't what you're supposed to do.
mm,
We're gonna work through what you have to go work through. And I went and saw therapy and help. Oh, I kicked out the studio. There you go. So I went, got the help that I needed, um, and kind of got my life back to in some sort of order, and I fell in love again, got remarried, moved my family from New York City to the mountains in Pennsylvania, and it was just me just not accepting everything that happened to drag me down and keep me down.
Mm.
That wasn't me. It was so, like I said, I went to therapy, got the help I needed, fell in love again, and things just started falling into place.
Mm.
And of course, everything isn't perfect. I'm still growing and developing. And 2020 hits. I get furloughed from my job,
Mm.
not knowing what to do. I fall in love with podcasting.
Mm.
And it took me, and it was amazing because when I started podcasting and started talking to people, and this was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to talk to people and let them share their stories and me share my story and make an impact that way. Like I was 40 something years old, didn't know my purpose in life. I was just going through life. Didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do with myself. Yeah, I have a good paying job, but when you really want to know why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And to find that in podcasting and being able to have these conversations and have people share their stories and me share whatever I've been through in my life and make an impact and hear from other people. Thank you. I needed to hear this episode, or I needed to hear this from someone else, or even in one case, someone benefited from their own episode that they did recording with me. It was like I hadn't released it, right? I hadn't released the episode, and it was like it was a year. And then when I finally released it, they were like, and I put a description of them, and I put a description of the story, and I tagged them, and they're like, "Is this the episode we recorded last year?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm so sorry about the delay and everything, but it was amazing. They needed that episode to remind them of who they were because
Mm.
they didn't feel like anything I described in that episode of them talk. And then this person was a beautiful spirit. They had all this energy. Just they loved life, And the thumbnail I used was one of her favorites. The description of her, how I spoke about her, she was like, "Thank you. You reminded me of who I am."
Mm.
And so being able to make that kind of impact on people's lives, just it's been amazing to be able to do that in these 4 years of podcasting.
Well, you're not the only one. I mean, I think going into my late 30s, same. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing or why I was doing what I was doing. I mean, besides, the basic stuff, right?
Yeah,
Taking care of our kids and our families, making sure we got groceries, rent, all that good stuff. Um, but yeah, this work here that uh, causes us to be rewarded in such a way that it's not something that we can buy.
yeah, no,
It's a
it's it's
nourishing
not.
soul kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not. I'm enriched by the feeling I get from being able to do this, not the monetary one, not the monetization of it. Just the fact that I'm able to impact people's lives by sharing their stories or someone listening to me. I'm just in these 4 years being able to see, and it was crazy, right? Because last year was probably my one of my best years as a podcaster. But as you know, because we've had to reschedule a couple of times, um, it was also one of the roughest ones for me because my mom being sick and not really being able to enjoy the success because I'm it was bittersweet because I know she wanted, if she knew what was going on, she would want me to celebrate it because it is an accomplishment, and you celebrate all the small accomplishments in life, and so I tell everybody, like, last year was my one of my best years podcasting, but it was one of the roughest years for me in my life, period. Because in February we buried my cousin. October we buried my mother's last sibling, her sister, and then February we buried my mom. And so it was like we kind of experienced this earlier from all the tragedy that I suffered, loss of my wife, my dad, two brothers. So it was like it was another, but this one was in a year now. We lost three of them, like just bam, 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 and it was like, man, this is like I'm having some of the best interviews I'm having, some of the best shows, and I'm not being able to enjoy it.
Mm.
But now she's no longer here, and it is after I'm kind of like I'm not beating myself up so much, but I'm kind of like maybe I should have enjoyed it a little bit more.
Mm.
Or now I'm looking at it as it's too precious for me not to enjoy everything, all the the, the accolades and just everything that's going on. Because I know she would want me to just embrace it, celebrate life.
Yeah, I think I feel like some of the things that we could do will always be out there.
Hmm.
Just a reminder to, I guess, be present,
Yeah.
because really that's the only thing that we have, right? Is time and our physical beings in the space to exchange energy with the people that we are with. And I think there's this one lady that I follow on Instagram. I forgot her full name, but she says that in Western philosophy, they tell us that, and this is just some thoughts out there. Well, it's not for you to adapt. I'm just sharing with you a story. Um, she said that in Western philosophy, and by the way, she's indigenous. I think she's from New Zealand or Australia, something like that. Western philosophy says that we are, pardon me, whew, separated. We think that dying separates us from the people that we love, in which she says that our ancestors are always and will always be with us.
Hmm.
That if we invoke their presence by calling them or, calling their name out into the ether, that if we are still enough and if we feel the presence of their existence, we'll remind ourselves not only do we have them, but we also have the ancestors that were that were before them and before them and before them. And I think this also too came from another Instagrammer saying that we have access to 14 years of generational trauma. I mean, not 14 years, 14 generations access to trauma. Also, too, we have 14 generations of access to their gifts as well.
Well, you're getting heavy here now.
I'm just saying, like, that's so, it is
No.
like um, not having them around, right?
Yeah.
It, if we do think of the Western philosophy, like
Oh
damn,
yeah,
I'm
no,
not,
no.
not
It's
yeah.
it's crazy because I mentioned my aunt earlier, and one day I was visiting my sister. She was at the shop. She was working at the shop, and I go in now and I see what's up and everything. And this older Spanish lady's in the office, and she's looking at me, and she's just looking at me, and I'm like, "Hi, how you doing?" Whatever, and she when I leave, she starts talking to my sister,
Mm,
and she's telling my sister, that young man is protected. Like she's like, there's someone watching over him right now. And my sister goes, yeah. She says, yeah, this older lady with white hair. She's by his side. Like
mm.
she describes my aunt, and my sister takes out a picture, and because my aunt had recently passed or whatever, and she shows her the picture, and she goes, yeah, that's her.
Oh shoot.
She goes, that's her. But we've always known that our families always like we're always around us. Like not we're not a religious family,
Hmm.
but we do believe in spirituality and spirits and all that, and so and I know that we're energy, and energy doesn't just get destroyed, so it has to go somewhere, and it's just it's there, it's out there in the ether, like you said.
I love that. I have a story like that too, if you'd like me to share.
Yes, good. This is what we're here for. We're here to
You-
share.
are you familiar with the Akashic records?
Yes.
Okay, so I was getting an Akashic record reading, and then the lady was like, your room has a lot of people in it," and I'm like, "Cool." I was like, "God damn."
I don't know if I want to hear all that.
Like, I don't know if I want to see them.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, cool. She's like you said, well, like you're protected, your ancestors are with you. And so I think the following week, I ended up going hiking. I don't know if I was in Malibu somewhere, but I'm walking up, puffing and puffing. And then this lady stops me. I'm wearing like these earrings that say Samoa. That's where my people are from. And then so she goes, your earrings are beautiful. And I'm like, awesome, cool, thanks. And so as I take a few more feet ahead, she goes, hey, what's your background? And I'm like, I'm Samoan. She goes, I don't know who you are, but you have a lot of people surrounding you. I don't know this lady, right?
Yeah.
She says like the same thing the Akashic record reader says,
Yeah.
like you're protected. And I'm like, wow, cool. I just started crying after I walked away.
No, there are people uh, like life is amazing. Like there's so many different there's so when there are people when I do meet people like that, I believe in all that. So it's kind of when I hear that, it's just like okay, thank you. I'm like I'm blessed. And so for me, for me it's always been like I've always had connect because even with like you say you're Samoan, I'm Puerto Rican, even within the Hispanic, like we're all about family.
Mm.
That just like we're all about family and our history and 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 we have pride on where we come from, and so that's why it's so our energy is so strong
Mm.
because we have so many years of energy of of passionate, caring people in our lineage.
Mm.
Just not every family has. This, everybody doesn't have perfect family. Yes, but for the most part, we come from people that are really good people.
Mm-hmm.
We come from people like all I've known my whole life is just family and take care of family, take care of that's what I was brought up on. Is that bond between family. And like you said, your room is full. And I'm sure you probably don't know that many people that have passed away for your room to be so full.
Don't. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Yeah, that's yeah. I just thought that was so neat. I think after that experience, like I end up like sitting so sometimes, or I'll even say it just out loud so I can feel the connection and remind myself that I'm not alone. Because sometimes I feel like that, even though we may be amongst people. Sometimes I don't feel like have the expansiveness of that love, of that support with me, with people
Yes,
that are physically here. But then that also too falls into how I have been created to think growing up, which that's something that I'm working on, is like I can't just cut off people in my life, because that's, as I'm learning, it's a trauma response. Like, okay, you did one thing out, you get in the chopping block.
yeah, it's like there's people, of course, that you need to cut out of your life, and you just don't.
For sure.
Um, and we like we have a brother, and he finds him. It's like regardless of whatever, he's our brother, and we'll still do whatever we can for him, regardless of how we feel about him or how many times we want to punch him in the face and everything. But because even when we was in Puerto Rico, right? It was he has this tendency of treating his family like crap when they're the ones that are always there for him, and we still continue to be there for him. And it came to a point where me and my other brother really got fed up with it, and we got a little bit too upset. We got a little bit too angry, but it was just it was a lot of emotions.
Hmm.
It was just a lot of emotions going on, and we kind of, well, we don't regret the actions we did because we kind of had to set an example, but it was just we want we look at it as this way: we're able to do that to my brother, like no one else is able to do that. Let's put that. Let's put that. Like me and my other brother, we're able to do whatever we did to, but no one else. We will never let anyone else lay hands on our brother, regardless of how much of an asshole he is. We can because that's our brother,
Nah,
but he's our asshole.
nah, it's interesting how the universe has to provide, not has to, but if we don't learn the lesson,
Yeah.
so, the universe is like, soft, at the first time they're trying to get your attention. And then the second time is like, two nudges, and, third time, maybe a little push. The fourth is like, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
uh, you didn't get the nudge. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just whispering at
Yeah,
first. The second time, I just raised my voice. And the third time, I was like, all right, look, at some point, there has to be something that is so impactful. And it's unfortunate that we have to get to that space in order for us to identify that, oh, this is a lesson I learned. here goes the pattern. So, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really grateful. I'm grateful for therapy, like you said. It saved my life. Like it literally saved my life because like all these things that we hold in or we're taught not to talk about,
Hmm.
now we're able to have this space.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because we take out the shame in that, right?
Hmm.
The
And that's
things
what it
that,
was. And that's what it was for many years was shame. Like
Mhm.
you couldn't tell people you were seeing a therapist because they're like, oh, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Something wrong with you.
Yeah,
You
that's
broken.
the stigma.
And you're like, well, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I just need someone I need to talk to. Like it's just it's this sometimes you just need that outlet where you can feel safe and not feel like you're being judged by anyone or not feel like okay I messed up but now everybody's just beating up on you or whatever it is or it's it's a different time now. It's definitely a different time now from when I was growing up. Like you didn't want to be the one that was in in seeing a therapist or even telling people how you felt or your emotions or because what's one of the things as a little boys you fall and you scream your knee, oh you better not cry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, me, I better not cry, that shit hurt. Like,
Ah, for real. Or
they
even
fucking
after
me
you get your ass
eh,
whooped from your parents, like,
like you
stop
fucking
crying.
they like the fucking mean don't cry. It hurt. I was crying. No, it hurts. I bleed just like it like so it kind of just didn't make no sense. Like don't cry, man. You got your mind.
You're right, Will, like you said, it don't make no sense. Like the things that we were taught to think that were normal and healthy, they weren't. And they didn't know because that's what they were taught to.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to one of those things where people say it all the time. When we when we are in a situation and the thinking that caused us to be there is still there and we don't introduce a new way of thinking, then we can't change whatever it is we're trying to change because we still have the old conversation going on. Obviously, we need new information for new results.
Yeah. So you also mentioned the podcast, right? You started a pod. What made
Yeah,
you want to start a podcast? Yeah, didn't you say you started a podcast?
I did. I did. I said I started a podcast because it's very similar to what you talk about. I because of trauma in my life, what I experienced with childhood trauma, and one of the main things that childhood trauma I felt like had an impact on me was causing me not to use my voice or speak up in spaces that I should. So I found that that pattern was going on in different areas of my life. And so I started the podcast because after writing my book and I found out how valuable that the sound of our voices are, and also to the power behind the stories of how we overcame, I thought, man, I want to connect with people and let them know how I overcame by, connecting with others that have stories that are healing stories like that. In addition to interviewing people that are called somatic healers. And somatic healers are people that help us to process the emotional trauma that is stuck in our body from the experiences that we've had. And they help us to work through it using different like movement kind of, so that's energy healing, like Reiki, something called epienergenetics, hypnosis, yoga, meditation, like just different things that will help us to shift the energies from our body to transmute them into something that we can use that we'd be better for not just ourselves, but our immediate, like our families, like our loved ones. And then, for whoever else we want to share time and space with.
Yeah.
That's why I started the podcast.
It's so I started actually started a program yesterday.
Okay.
Um, I started a program, and it's because even everyone needs help. Like it's so I still struggle with things. Like um and then if people find it hard, like I still suffer from imposter syndrome,
Oh,
right?
likewise. Likewise.
I still suffer from imposter syndrome, and people don't understand why. Because I'm human. I'm still working on myself. I'm still learning and growing and developing and trying to change, trying to get rid of traumatic trauma from years ago or whatever it is. And so I started a program. Um, it feels good doing it. We'll see. Like it's only day two, so we still got time and everything. But I'm excited because now I really feel like this is gonna really help me kind of like not put a band-aid over it. Just finally
Feel it.
help me to heal, to let it heal. Like let it to really not put a band-aid over, just rip it off and just let it heal and grow and so and it's a program that I'm investing in myself. I'm investing money in myself. I'm is and sometimes you when you actually pay for something, right? You really
You do the work.
yeah
Hell
you
yeah.
you realize like damn I gotta pay that how much and and so I feel like all right I'm investing this money. I need to work this really needs to work. This really has to help me battle this and it's and people who know me or would be like why are you facing imposter syndrome because we truly see who you are we truly see that you are who you say you are and you're not pretending to be but it's just
Yeah,
the
the
doubt
translated.
it's everything it's mental it's everything where I look in the mirror of myself and I'm not happy with what I see, right?
Relate.
And so to be able and it feels good to actually talk about it and let people know like I still struggle with stuff to this day. That's life, like, but it's how you step to it, how you handle it, how I. So for me, it's like I'm gonna invest this money, take this course, and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
And hopefully it can help me with my struggles with my fears because one of the things I want to do is public speaking and coaching but if I don't have the confidence in myself and I don't see that even though I hear people tell me all the time I should I don't have the confidence in myself yet.
Mm. And you're doing the work, it sounds like, and when we invest into ourselves, um, not only is it like helping us to work through our mental psyche to translate into something that we're feeling, to something that we're being, it also it's like reinvesting in a cycle. kind of way. Because then we realize, like, dang, all these things are actually in me already. And we now begin to give value to ourselves because we know that, okay, this was already here. I just needed to uncover the belief systems that we had, uncover the conversations, and even change the conversations.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're doing this already, bro, all the whole coaching and the whole speaking thing, those are just things that is already a part of the gift that you inherently have. Because there's no way people are going to get a podcast and it's the gift of them speaking. Like, that's already a part of your whole package for the reason why you're here.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I get no. I listen. I see. I believe. That's why that's why it's so frustrating.
Mm.
Is that I see myself there. I see
Yeah.
because I can vision myself on stage. I can see myself there. I'm afraid of taking action.
Yeah. And so, that's one of these things too, where the fight, flight, and freeze responses, where we don't want to move because we don't feel like we can. And those things go back into us having these traumatic experiences and not really knowing what kind of tools to put in place. You already are doing this thing. Like, you're noticing, okay, this is where I'm at now. And so as we begin to open up that door of awareness and noticing, we can now take like small steps to do the work, to work towards whatever it is that, we've been called to do. Like, sometimes we have to borrow somebody else's confidence and have them be our hype person until we can do that shit ourselves. But you heard all this already.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's always good to hear it again. So
Yeah, just take the fear and take fear and take it with you anyway. You heard that story by what's her name, Liz Gilbert, the one that wrote Big Magic.
mm.
She
But
talked about
even like I had purchased my first podcasting equipment in 2019, right?
fear.
And I was going to do a podcast with a coworker of mine. It was going to be a sports podcast. Um, him and his girl get pregnant, so me and him don't do no show.
Mhm.
Um, and so I have this equipment at home. It's 2019. I have this equipment. I actually. It's funny because I don't do anything for a whole year, right? So in 2020, I take the equipment out and I start messing with it. I'm furloughed from work because of the pandemic and everything. And the wife has a honey to do list out the door for me. So I'm like, yeah, I need to find something to do fast because she will work me to death. And so so I started podcast. One day I'm just sitting here with my nephew, and he's on the phone with me, and I go, you know what? Press record, and we record like 5-7 minutes, and that was the birth of Stuck in My Mind podcast. And then it just grew from there. Like went from 5-7 minutes to 10, 15 minutes to 20 minutes to like I think my 13th episode, 14th, one of those episodes. I and this is before I really know about any of this, like any editing and all this other stuff. I interviewed this dude for 3 hours. I don't even know how I got through an interview for like I had to cut it into 2 episodes. I had to cut it into 2 episodes. I will never sit for 3 hours interviewing anyone else again. Um, but I had to learn how to do interviews, I wasn't someone who was in media, and so I didn't know anything about interviewing people. I didn't know how long 20 minutes. Didn't have a clue.
Mm.
And then, but when I started realizing, like, all right, I'm enjoying this. Some people are listening, tuning in. Um, the podcast is growing. Okay, let me start going to YouTube University. What are the things I need to learn about podcasting? Oh, I need to learn how about descriptions. I need to learn how to do thumbnails. I need to learn how to do SEO, all this other stuff. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So I start learning all that, start implementing all that, start putting that into my podcast. Then be like, okay, I need to niche it down. Because when I first started, I was interviewing people celebrities, friends. I was all over. And I was like, I want to niche it down. I want to be more towards coaching and entrepreneurship and growth mindset and stuff like that. And so that's what I broke it down to that. And I started connecting with people. Now I'm meeting people and they're talking about, they're showing me how to automate stuff, how to do this, how to build an email list, how to marketing, stuff marketing and all, and it's like, okay, now I'm implementing all these stuff, and now the podcast is growing. Now I'm getting guests I'm really enjoying, because now I'm learning, and I'm also giving people a platform to share their stories and their knowledge, and it feels amazing.
So,
But had I not finally gotten over the fear of, because before I finally decided to record, I was like, who's gonna want to listen to me? What? Like, I have a horrible voice. I sound horrible. What am I going to talk about? Oh, I was just making up excuses to why I shouldn't do a podcast.
I totally hear you. I said that same thing too. I feel like you telling my story, except me and my best friend, we were talking about it. And she's like, okay, we gotta do it this way. I want to do pop culture. And I'm like, I cannot stand pop culture. She's like, you got to do research on this. And I'm like, I'm not doing research on shit that I do not like.
Mm.
Honest. Like, I want to do something that I'm excited about. And me growing and
That's
seeing other
exciting.
people grow,
That's
that's my
exciting.
thing right there. That's my thing. And so, no, like you, after I told that 2 weeks later, I just said, fuck it, record.
What are you using to record?
At home or here in the office.
I know what though. What just?
Well, not record. I live stream. So I didn't record anybody. I didn't start using StreamYard until I think either my second episode.
Oh, so you
And
use StreamYard?
yeah, that's what I'm using.
Oh, okay.
So, and from there, I was just like, okay, cool. But speaking of, I want to, I guess on the back end, I'll introduce you to one of my some of the people that I interviewed. And when we get with different people, we have different dynamics. So
Yeah.
I think you'll like some of the people that I'll be sending your way.
That sounds great to me. That sounds fine.
Yeah.
But now, oh man, we've been talking. But
It's an hour now.
Yeah, now is the time where you get the solo layout and you get to plug away and let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh, thank you. Well, appreciate it. Well, thank you again for having me here, because I really enjoyed the energy. So, everybody, you can find me at francisfomai.com. That's FranCesFomai.com. And then I should have all my social media links on there. I won't give you a big old word salad. So you find my website, you find me. That's all I got, Will.
Oh, I'll go back and I'll put the word salad in there in the description.
Because it's like, all right, for real. If I was gonna say, okay, I'm on YouTube, I'm friend, and
Oh,
then
listen, I
I'm on
will go put
Instagram.
out I will put the word salad out there. I will put it in the description. If I hadn't already, I will make sure I do. But thank you for being a guest. I greatly appreciate it. Don't leave just yet. Let me close
Okay,
out the show, and when we're behind the scenes, we'll talk a little bit more. But
cool.
thank you for being such wonderful guests.
You're welcome. Thank
I
you,
haven't
man.
had someone for an hour. It's been a minute. It's like I've been averaging 35, 45 minutes. Usually when they go hours, because I'm really enjoying the conversation. So
I'll tell you something on the back end.
all right. Let me go share out. All right. Big shout out to everybody who's tuning in on the replay. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, share, let everyone know where they can find us at Stuck in My Mind Podcast YouTube channel, as well as all major podcasting platforms. As always, big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate you. And as always, big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. You know, your boy Wise does it. Peace out.